just go start streaming. We got frame rate. Okay, excellent connection. Viewers waiting 0 because they don't have the link yet. And yeah, and now you're just on. So now I'll post it, and then we should get the people. But you're just you're good to go.
So I'm up at this point.
Yeah, you're up. Nobody's watching yet, but the second they get the link, you're just on there. Let's test it. Here it is. And then do you see it when I write a comment in here?
I haven't seen a comment yet.
Okay. Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. All right. Okay, now I hear you too, so
Okay.
crystal clear. So we're good to go. Okay, let me post the link.
Okay.
And I'll send it just a third email just so people really know what's up.
Okay. Just let me know when to hang up with you.
Yep. Chris, click here to join. Search. Okay. Click here to join. Save. All right. Now the first people that are waiting on the site, they'll be getting the link. So you might see some people popping in.
Should I write to them right now? Just send a chat. Just say I'm finally here.
Yeah, or you can just tell them because you're already live.
Oh, they can hear me now?
Yeah, they can hear you, see you, everything. If there's anyone in there. Looks like there's 1 or 2 people now.
Not yet. Oh, here we go. Colin's there. Hi, Colin. Jesus. What a day. Oh, God. Evening, Jim.
Click here to join. Okay, and then I'll send a third email. All right, you're good to go. Let's hang up, and I'll send you more people right now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Aaron.
So sorry. All right. Bye.
Okay. What a day! What? This is unbelievable. This never happened. Apparently, Aaron kind of thought we were in a different time zone and thought we were still another hour before the live chat. So, Jesus. I just love technology. It's just when I see him set up for these. I mean, he takes over. He does Team Viewer, takes over my computer, and I see all these different things that he has to do, and I'm just going, man, I don't know how that crap works. But then suddenly, when he wasn't there, I suddenly felt totally just impotent here. So. I'm glad it's working. How's everybody? I hope everybody's doing okay, and thank you for your patience on this. I sent out, some people saw it, I sent out a little, at 3 o'clock, I sent out a video on YouTube just saying I'm freaking out. This is like, because I had been here for like that past 45 minutes, just sitting here waiting for him to get on so that we could hook all this stuff, because it's fun to even come on, a few minutes early and start saying hi to everybody. So it's great to see everybody still here. I'm sorry for anybody who may have just bailed on this, saying, oh God, it's whatever. Happy Tuesday from Tampa. Yeah, Century, that's great. I hope everything's good down there. Once again, I'm going to take my glasses off here. It's nearsighted, so when I'm looking at the things here, it's if I have my glasses on, it's a little bit blurry. Yeah, Aaron's really good at this stuff, but man, I'm not. So if he's not there, I'm really fish out of water. I'm just start looking at things here. I mean, you're trying to get in and thought the clock changed in the USA. Greetings from Blighty. Yeah, great. That's great, Beth. Yeah, it's been quite a day, and it's been really a hard day. Like I said in my video this morning, that we lost a really, really dear friend, and it wasn't unexpected, but it's always horrible. And then the phone just rang, and I thought it might have been Aaron calling me, and it turned out to be another old friend who just called to say his wife died today. I'm so tired of people passing. It's just unbelievable. Hey, Peter in Sweden. Oh God, David in Saskatoon. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to come up there at some point and visit Dingwall and see the factory and see them building some bases. They build such beautiful instruments. Yeah, Ian, 2020's been one of those weird years. I mean, there's been some really great, I mean, I look at it that there have been some wonderful things. Like this is something I totally look forward to. And my life would be quite different without it. So it's been a weird year. We've had like some really terrible things going on this year, and out of the lockdown, other things have happened that are, really, kind of life affirming. So, I don't want to completely tank this year, but it's been a rough one, and I'm really heartbroken. Yeah, Colin, Albert Lee, it's just like, we've done a lot of work over the years together, and Albert's just a remarkable musician. I sit there and watch him play, and you just kind of go, man. Whenever I work with any of those guys that play that style, he did a beautiful solo on one of the songs on Kate's record, where they said, "Oh, come on, try something," and he does like an amazing solo, and I go, "Oh, maybe you try one more," and then he did three, and the third one like just took our breath away. He's amazing. Let's see. Will the EP and the LP be completely different? No, the EP is like, I think 5 songs, and the LP will be like 12 or 13 songs. So it'll be more, but that'll be early in the year. We're trying to coincide that with the documentary film that's being made. Gary T, New York loves you. God, I love New York. I'd love to get back there and have a slice right now. I could use a good slice. It's really great. And I also smashed my nose. It's all swollen in here and red. I don't know what the hell happened here. I think I might have broken it, but I've broken it in the past, so it happens. So let's see. I got my ticket for Saturday. Now, be sure and double check anybody who's coming to see the concert on Saturday. Be sure and check your times. Because on the West Coast, it's going to be 3 p.m. And then in New York, it'll be 6 p.m. And I think in London, it's at 8 p.m. So make sure when you jump in that it's in your time zone. I'm just thinking about that. The website, Ian, is almost done. I think we're probably a week away from that, and then I will announce it. We're doing some fine tuning on that right now, and it's going to be fun. We're going to keep building it. Into doing all kinds of crazy stuff, because Blue, who I'm working with, is just a maniac, and so he keeps shouting out ideas to me, going, "Let's try this. Like, when you go there, let's make something happen there," and stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but we're getting it all dialed in. So I will do a video about it and let you all know what's going on with that. But there's a bunch of cool stuff going on. I'm really excited about. Nuts. I've been waiting and now I'm late. How much time? No, Helen, it's things were all screwed up here. Aaron was mixed up on the time and stuff, so we didn't even start till about 5 minutes ago. So you're completely fine. You haven't missed anything. It's just some old fart here on the screen babbling away. So yeah, it'll be fine. Oh, slice of that chocolate. Man, I would love some of that chocolate cake right now. It was great. My wife makes the most unbelievable oatmeal raisin cookies. I mean, the damn things are like this big. And I took them to the session, and everybody was in a coma by the end of that. I'd love one of those right now, but they're long gone. West Texas. Where in West Texas, Monty? Yeah. Oh, Children of the Sun video. Yeah. Do bass players such as yourself and keyboard players create bass lines, creating more or less the same bass line, or can you tell by listening to a bass line that one or the other created? It would depend on the bass player and the keyboard player. Sometimes they have very similar concepts, so it might be hard to tell. A lot of times, though, like so much of my work is replacing synth bass, and a lot of the guys who play left-hand synth bass that I'm replacing don't play it like a bass player, and it makes my life completely miserable when I have to go in because I'm doing things that really aren't for the bass, but this is what they want to hear, so you have to do it. Let's see, Liam, the London Bass Show in 2014, what was the song album you were playing along to? I want to check that. I think I did two things. I think I did one song by Lyle Lovett off his Large Band album. I think I did That's Right, You're Not From Texas. And I think the other thing was a Steve Lukather song. I think it was Stab in the Back. And I can't remember the title of that album. But it was one of Steve Lukather's solo albums, not a Toto album, but it's Luke's solo albums. Do you have favorite bassists, Century? God, yeah, there's a pile of bass players I love. But the thing is, when I'm really watching so many different bass players, I'm fans of like so many. It would be really hard. I loved McCartney, I loved Jack Bruce, I loved Entwistle. Chris Squire, all that old school stuff, and I see guys now, and certainly Jocko and Victor Wooten, and Steve Bailey, and I was doing a band with Jonas Hellberg and Steve Bailey, and then Alfonso Johnson was playing with us, and Stanley Clark. All these people. It's a massive community. I just dig them all, and then you've got the Fleas and the Geddy Lees and all these different people, and it's amazing. And like Rhonda Smith, I'm a huge fan of Rhonda Smith, and I always mention Rebecca Johnson is one of my favorite bass players down in Australia with the Rebecca Johnson Band. The Immediate Family's first album, is it available in Japan solely? I'm really not sure. With the Japanese situation, I'm not sure if it can only be bought in Japan. So I'm not really sure on that. Love your dedication. Yeah, this is. Oh yeah, let's see. Suggest Judith a new version of Black Hole Sun. Yeah, that was really fun when she came up with Black Hole Sun and decided to do it like Dave Brubeck, and do it in 5. That was really amazing. Oh God, yeah, Colin, that when we did that Kurt Busquera thing at Capitol Records, that was really fun. I remember it well. We just he called and said, "Would you come down? I'm doing this video," and I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And that was fun. Yeah, that's up on YouTube also. Have you had writing credits on the first section LP? I don't even know. I'd have to go look at it and see whether or not I did. Have you experienced challenges working with artists with perfect pitch? No, but they might have. Especially if you have perfect pitch and you're working with some guitar players, it could probably be a challenge. Billy Payne, keyboard player in Little Feat, has perfect pitch. It's one of those things, you hear something, you say, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's B flat." You just go, "Yeah, I don't understand what that is." I have okay relative pitch when I'm within a song, but perfect pitch, no. Lee, where do you buy your glasses? I wore the exact same from 18 to about 26, and I couldn't find them anymore. I've bought these glasses, these frames, at flea markets. I just go to flea markets and scrounge around, and eventually you'll find somebody that's got some boxes of stuff, and you look in there and you go, "Oh, there's some old glass frames in it." And I have a friend, Andre. I go to him, and he makes lenses, and he's got some old vintage ones too. Yeah, it's mostly just flea market finds or junk shops. Stuff just ends up tossed. John Lennon's 80th birthday this week. Wow. I never crossed paths with John. I never met him. I've met Paul and I know Ringo, but I never met George or never met John. But I did John's 75th birthday 5 years ago at the Madison Square Garden, and that's on YouTube also, and that was really fun. All got to come together with Steve Tyler, and all kinds of people were on that show. It was really fun. I really love doing those, being in bands for like those kind of variety shows, because you get to do so much music, like with the Grammy pre-show, and I used to do the Latin Grammys, and you get to work with all these different people, and it's great. Let me just see. Get a copy of CD. Oh, I'm in UK and I got a copy of the Japan CD through eBay. Okay, cool. That's great. Oh, there's Aaron. Sorry, everyone. That's cool, Aaron. You know, stuff happens. When did you decide to stop touring with Frankenstein? You know, it's just the airlines have become so untrustworthy in terms of how they handle gear, and I really don't want to go on the road anymore with an instrument that can't be replaced. And Frankenstein absolutely could never be replaced. Can make something that looks like it and everything, but it took me an afternoon to find that body in a huge stack of bodies, blank bodies, just holding them on a piece of wire and tapping them with my knuckle and hearing that resonant one. And you know, it's been a number of years, and I remember I went to Phoenix to do an album with Nils Lofgren from the E Street Band, and I arrived in Phoenix, and the bass didn't show up, and it was only from Burbank Air. It was an hour flight, and found out that it was still sitting in Burbank, and I think they were going to try to steal it, so they had it sitting in an elevator. And I got the police involved, and I just said at that point, I'm done with taking something I care that much about on the road. I just use it for studio work, and that's it. Because sometimes you show up, I mean, they're not going to let you carry anything on the plane anymore. You just don't know. It's so much of a crapshoot. Let's see. Do you work with Tim Pierce on the Grammy pre-show? Yeah, Tim. It's usually Tim and Dean Parks, the two of them. You can't get a better guitar section than that. And I think the last one might have been Vinny on drums. I'm not sure. Excuse me while I eat a couple of chili dogs here in the north. Oh, man, don't tease me with that. It's like, you will please send me a sandwich from Connell's. Oh, man, Artsky. Yeah, Connell's Sandwich Shop is up in Altadena area. And the thing I get there is called frings, and it's half French fries, half onion rings. And I always get them extra crisp, and man, it's like, you know, coma time when you're done with that. No, I never had a chance to work with Prince. Yeah, I would have. It would have been fun. Prince really grew on me when Prince first came out. I was not a fan because it was all kind of like, you know, he was in like, you know, stockings and women's underwear and stuff like that, and I thought, this guy sounds like he's really good, but it's really distracting with the visual that I was seeing. And then once he really started to focus on the music and stuff, I just went, oh, no, this cat's great. And I became a huge fan. Let me see, has anyone ever come to you to design a replica and really get it right? You know, a couple of people have tried, but like Fender never contacted me about doing one. And I don't know whether they could do it really right because the parts were just so unique. Those pickups don't exist anymore. That body was just a very special piece of wood and stuff. So I think it's really something. But a few people have been sending me, like they've been building replicas of it, and I would love to hear some of them and see how they turned out. It would be really amazing just to see. They built me a bass in Japan, Yamaha, that was supposed to be kind of like Frankenstein, as close as they could get it. And it's a nice bass, but it doesn't sound like it. But it was black, and so I started doing autographs on that, and I did them all with metallic gold and silver markers. And then I clear coated it when it got full. But it's so crazy. It's got everybody from Mel Torme and Bob Hope and Milton Berle. Um, what the hell? Some window just came up right in the middle of the screen there. Christ. Um, uh, Christopher, yeah, I mean Prince played everything great. He was a great bass player, great guitar player, everything. I'm sure he was probably really a fine keyboard player too. He's one of those guys. His whole focus was on music and doing music. And yeah, Art. No, I've been getting your emails about the website and stuff, and at some point I want to talk to you. But that was so much fun on that Spectrum 30th tour. That was so great, with husband sitting in the van with us all the time, flipping bottle caps in the back of Billy's head and stuff. It's like, that was amazing. Who were you playing with when the bras were thrown at you? That was with Toto. When we were on the Toto tour, it was really funny. I'd be standing up there, and all of a sudden I'd get, what's this? And I'd look down, there'd be a bra sitting there. It was like, felt like Tom Jones or something up there. It was funny. But I thought, oh, I'm going to keep these. Maybe someday, have them all mounted and have them bronzed. It's like, it was so silly. Really a funny thing. Okay. Oh, Baz, great. Yeah, so in London, it's about an hour show. So it'd be from 11 to midnight. Let's see. Having known Jeff Porcaro and Luke for so long, did they approach you to join Toto when they started? Well, apparently I found out many years later that they were huge fans of The Section, and Page and Porcaro had talked about asking me to be the bass player in Toto, but they didn't want to create anything. They figured I was completely, with The Section and I wouldn't be available. And they ended up with getting David Hungate, who was a fabulous, fabulous bass player. But it would have been fun. I would have loved it, of course, with those guys. I mean, we saw each other every day in the studio, and especially Jeff. I did so many records with Jeff. It was amazing. But I was so proud of them too, when that band formed, and I just went, man, this is great. And throughout the years, they've had, so many different people have come and, taken different seats within the group, and it's the music that's great, and especially as long as the stable element was Luke, it was always Toto to me. Will it be released the same time and day as the live stream? The EP for the immediate family is going to be released Friday of this week, and it's slipping and sliding. And then the live stream, the stream will be on Saturday, but the actual EP comes out on Friday. Let's see. Looking so forward to owning your finger book autographed with my coffee and some headphones on. Jason, yeah, it's really a hoot. And one thing was really cool. Let me see if I can find it here. I'll show it to you on my phone. Blue is part of the Arts Council in South Pasadena, and they've all of the restaurants have been putting those big barricades out into the street, so that they could have street side eating out there. And what he's done is he's got 100 artists, and they're going to, each one has a 10-foot long one of these concrete things, and they're doing things on vinyl like they wrap cars with. And he said, oh, I've already done one of you, and this is what's going to be. Let's see if you can see this on there. This is what's going to be on mine. So I'm going to have a big 10-foot thing. And these are, I'm trying to get this in here. This is one of my drawings, and this is going to be available in the gift shop on my website. And this was another one that the guy on, I'm not sure how you're seeing it, on the right side was an artist, and he asked me to do a slave-themed drawing for him. It's much more detailed. This looks kind of like on this screen here. But this was an album cover for him, and I don't think it ever got made, but the drawing's great. So I'm going to have like high quality art prints done of these, and they'll be available on there. Let's see, Lee. Yeah, Jason, I was really studying to be a medical illustrator when I met James Taylor, and all of a sudden my whole life turned upside down. Also somebody, yeah, I'm glad to hear Marcello is all fixed up. Yeah, Marcello had this bacterial infection, my Basset Hound, in his ear, and I went over this morning to get his 2-week checkup, and the vet said that his ears were absolutely, completely great, and completely clean. So that was a relief there. That was after hearing about my friend's passing, so that helped a whole lot. I'll be buying at least 3 copies of the Finger Book, Dave. Oh man, thank you, David. That'll be great. Yeah, they as soon as the website's up, I'll be taking the orders in for the first. I'm going to sort this out, but for like probably the first 10 days, I'm going to have like a special thing going on, just to get it launched. And then I'm supposed to be getting them by late November, which means they'll be all out for Christmas. I'll get them all shipped and everything. It's exciting. I mean, I'm just in this whole world. I don't know anything about it, but it's what the hell? Why not? Yeah, the jazz quartet piece, Dave, it is really, really a sweet piece, and I've got a whole bunch of pieces of art that we've done real high quality scanning of, and then when we print them, we're going to do them on real high quality art paper, and they'll be shipped flat and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, Ellen. Yeah, like I said, another book, Sklart. Mine, it would probably be Fart. But it's whatever. Let's see. I've noticed that all your necks are rosewood fretboards on all your basses. I'm not really that concerned about what they are. It just so happens they end up that way. But I have some basses with ebony, and I have some others that have like blonde necks, like maple necks. It's never, when people say, "Man, can you really feel and hear the difference?" I really don't. I just play. It's never really. I'm really not a gearhead. I've got a couple of basses that I absolutely love that I bought at flea markets for like $90. So it's not like I need a high end instrument. I mean, I want something that can at least tune. But once they're set up, I'm kind of content with about anything. Let's see, I saw your drawing was talking about Crumb's finer drawings. That's a great compliment. I was such a huge Crumb fan. I've got so many of his books and stuff, man. There was the documentary of R. Crumb is worth seeing. There's one great section, one piece in it where he does a portrait of a woman, and his son did a portrait of the same woman, and the son's looks like a photograph, and Crumb's looks like a photograph of the woman, kind of instead of just going. It's like it's got that Crumb mentality. You just showed off the URL on your phone, I think. No, that's actually going to be the website that you'll ultimately be going to is going to be LelandSklarsBeard.com, all one word. LelandSklarsBeard, because we wanted to get LelandSklar.com or LeeSklar.com, and somebody owns those and wanted a ton of money for them, and so I thought, well, I'll just throw Leland Sklar's beard in it, and that was available. So that's going to be the website. I mean, you could go there now. There might be something there, but it's not finished yet. I think maybe the banner is there. Alchemy opened the website. It has a cool wait for it pick. Oh, okay, cool. Why did the section hate being called the Mellow Mafia? That's been a real interesting question for a long time, where there was some interviews about the group, and we somehow got handed that. And we all went, man, we all came from rock and roll, hard rock, and playing really hard. And all of a sudden, to be called the Mellow Mafia. I remember being in Europe with James Taylor back in the early days, and one of the promoters gave him this little crystal thing, and it said Mr. Sensitive on it. And I remember when the guy left later in the evening, James just looked at the thing and said, Mr. Sensitive, and threw the thing and broke it. Because in his heart, he still liked rock and roll, even though he was being like this sensitive folk guy. So it's kind of hard to know. Did you know my love is a cave, black as a crow? No, I'm not, Grant, I'm not familiar with that. Let's see. What amp are you using when you do the YouTube videos? Um, I'm using just a little setup. I have a euphonic audio 10-inch cabinet and my old Walter Woods amplifier on that. And that's sitting on the floor next to me. The songs I'm playing through this laptop that I'm on right now. And I have a little Bose speaker plugged into that. So on one side, and the phone is just sitting however. I either set it on the thing or I put it, I've got a selfie stick and a C clamp, and I hook it to the drawer of the desk I'm sitting at. And just try to find some kind of a balance. It's pretty low tech, and I have people writing to me all the time saying, man, we could help set you up with a mixer and all this stuff. And I kind of go, I really don't want to go that route. If this is working, this is really for me. I just want to, tell stories and enjoy these songs that I've worked on and revisit them and kind of rediscover them. That's really been the fun part of this, and I really love it. So let me see. I listened to Sister Kate yesterday and loved what you, Russ, and Danny contributed. Yeah, it's so interesting to have been in the studio this past week with Kate Taylor, James Taylor's sister, cutting an album. And the first album that we did with her was it was 50 years ago. And it was the same bunch of guys. Peter Asher produced it. Russ Kunkel, Danny Korchmar, and I were on it, plus other people. So it was like going through a time machine. All of a sudden we're in there. And Kate really evolved into really quite a really wonderful performer. I've seen her play live here when she's come to Pasadena, and she's really great. She tells great stories, and she's got a great energy. This is Christopher. My son hummed Atari and Matador when I picked him up at school today. I was so proud of him. When we watched your video where you were playing, he said, I think he's better than you, Dad. No, impossible. Tell him Dad's the best. Please tell him Dad's the best. Yeah, it was funny. I did a thing at we played a gig with the immediate family at a place called Bogies, which is north of California, up near Westlake. And one of the people who came to the show said, would you, I teach at the high school near, I think it was Agoura High School. He said, would you come and speak to my class? And I said, yeah, I'd be happy to. And he said, it's a general ed class and all that. And so as we arranged a date, and I go back, and I'm kind of sitting there, and then the class comes in. It was maybe about 40 kids in this class, and I'm kind of looking around going, everybody looked like they were 3 years old to me. I mean, it's something, you kind of forget that you're really an old fart at this point in your life. But, I started to talk a little bit, and we did some introductions, and I finally said, well, do you have any questions? And this one kid who was about 15 years old, raises his hand, and I said, yeah, what is it? And he goes, you played on Stratus? I almost fell off my chair. It was unbelievable. I said, how do you know about Stratus? He said, well, that's one of my favorite albums. Spectrum's one of my favorite albums. So it was great. So great interview you did with Dom Famularo on Session Panel. Yeah, Dom is one of the best interviewers, Ian, I've ever worked with. He's beyond being a great drummer. His energy and his involvement in doing interviews is really quite fabulous. Oh yeah, my family listened to Gorilla by James Taylor today, and that was a great album. That was a great period. In the Pocket, Gorilla, JT. James was really hit his stride during that period. I think we did Gorilla, as I recall, we might have done that at Amigo Studios. But yeah, it was great. If it was that period, then I think Van Halen was working in the next room, and it breaks my heart to have lost Eddie. Really just tragic. I mean, this has been a real run of loss in this industry in this past month with Helen Reddy and Mac Davis and all these people. It's just like you go, Jesus, when is this going to end? It usually comes in threes, and this is coming in lots of multiples. Let's see. Are the pickups on your Warwick bass humbuckers or reverse P pickups in humbucking casing? I think they're humbuckers. I don't think they're Ps that have been reversed. I think they're humbuckers in that. Gene, hello from Brooklyn, New York. Oh, God, I love going to Brooklyn. So much good food there. Oh, God. And sometimes when you're playing a song, you seem to focus on your laptop screen. What are you watching? Not really watching anything. Sometimes I'm actually maybe watching how the song is scrolling along, just to kind of think about what might be coming up on it. But I get into the just this zone. You know, when I play, I tend to like shut the external world down, and most of the time I end up closing my eyes. One of the things I used to do for practicing all the time is I would practice in a dark room so I couldn't see anything, and just learn to play by just feel and intuition at that point. Oh, lots of good questions here. I see you worked with Janice Ian. I think she is fabulous. Yeah, she's wonderful. Janice was wonderful. Such a great songwriter, and to have done what she did so young was really amazing. Love that video. Cooch Waddy and the other guys playing guitar, and someone saying, that can be hard to play. Oh my God, the guitar god's declaring something. Oh man, they're characters. Those guys are just nuts. You know, Cooch and Waddy and Postel are real characters. Oops, things are disappearing here quickly. Yeah, I worked with Gary. I worked with Tom Dowd on Atlantic Crossing with Rod Stewart, and one of the reasons I really wanted to do that album was to work with Tom Dowd, one of the most remarkable people I've ever met in this business. And if you can, there's a documentary film about Tom Dowd, D-O-W-D. Check it out. This guy was deep. I mean, yeah, Gene. Yeah, don't forget Nino's and Bay Ridge and Grandma. Yeah. I mean, there's so many good places back there, man. Yeah, I love Gorilla in the Pocket. They're almost like a double album to me. Yeah, perfect. Revolver and Rubber Soul. It's really true. Those people hit these kind of mid strides, and stuff just came together so beautifully, and the bands were like just locked in. It was an amazing time. Like on large orchestra dates, like film and TV, do you have to read from a fully notated score? Yeah, generally what's happened for me, like when I work with people like Alan Silvestri, and we did a lot of his movies and stuff, what they would usually do is they would write, there's usually a string bass section. So there would be guys across the room, like maybe 6 string basses on it, and percussion and all that, and then they would also hire a rhythm section, so it'd be me and a drummer and a couple of guitar players on it. So what they usually told me to do was honor the chart, but if you feel like adding anything of your personality in it. So I generally would try to stick fairly close to the notation on it, because I mean, it's critical when you're doing film and television, because everything is plotted out by scenes. So you have to take care of that. Tom, how did you whack your nose? I really don't know. It's just been swollen and painful. It happened sometime during the course of this week, and it may have been from the metal thing inside of the face mask that I was wearing all day and evening. I was wearing it like 10, 11 hours a day, and it might have just tweaked my nose, because I was using an N95. I had a whole bunch of those from when I was doing work on the house, sanding plaster and stuff years ago, and they have a pretty good metal thing that molds down, and I tried to get that because I wanted to have it snug so that my glasses weren't fogging up while I was trying to look at a chart in this. It's a mess. Professor Simon Kroom. As a teen, I got into John Paul Jones, who switched me onto bass, and I see your diverse styles and approach really seem to have taken me in a new appreciation. Did you ever run? Now, I've never met John Paul Jones, but man, I was definitely a fan, and he was certainly a powerhouse in Zeppelin. What he brought to the table there was really remarkable. I have nothing but admiration for him. He thought working in the yard. Who knows? I've broken my nose so many times over the years. Body surfing and things like that when I was young. Just dive in and hit the bottom and come up and just a wreck. The last couple of weeks I've been listening to a lot of From My Broken Heart, and I discovered the genius of Larry London. Yeah, Larry London was absolutely remarkable, and it's great that you say he had such timing on his kick drum. How was it working with him? Working with Larry was a treasure, but the most amazing thing was his kick drum was the tightest kick drum ever built. Other drummers I knew, like down in Nashville, they would come in and they would stand on his kick drum and they still couldn't get the beater to hit the head. And Larry would come in and just dance on it, bounce the thing like crazy. He was great. We actually had a great time. We spent a week up in Redding, California with Merle Haggard doing an album with him because Merle had a big family compound, about 700 some acres up in Redding, where he lived. And Larry was great, but Larry would come in every day, wore these really loud, like Hawaiian shirts, and wore all this cologne, and he'd come up and give you a big bear hug, and then the rest of the day, like, my beard smelled like all this cologne and my clothes, and at the end of the week, I just, like, threw all my clothes away. I loved Larry. Man, he was treasure. I'm amazed Little George and Little Feat are not in the Rock Hall of Fame. There's so many people that aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's what, to me, that kind of denigrates the whole thing. When you look at who's not in something, you kind of go, how valuable is this thing really? When those people haven't been honored at this point. It's kind of like when you hear about somebody getting their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and you go, they should have had one 50 years ago. And now they're just finally getting one, and then you see names on there of people that, you just go, why in the hell does this person on here? It's ridiculous. I had the same problem with my N95 nose pain. Well, Ellen, thank you for that. Yeah, those are tough masks. They're good, but boy, they really, so I think it might have been an irritation that started. It doesn't feel broken, but it feels swollen through here. And it's scraped up in here, so. I don't know, after studio work this week, do you get a sense of optimism that things will get back to normal post-pandemic? It must have been lovely to jam with musicians again. And yeah, I mean, David, we just don't know. There's a number of people are trying to put sessions together. I mean, everything I did this week, everybody was pretty much trying to keep safe distances. Everybody was masked. There was that one moment, that's unbelievable, that when Russ took his mask off for a few minutes, and that's when I filmed, and everybody was going, why isn't Russ wearing a mask? Because he had one on every day in the studio. But it was crazy. But I don't know. I don't know where everything's headed. We're still a long ways from anything, looking like any kind of normalcy. But we're all, man, every player I know is just chomping at the bit to work again. This is, we would all jump in a nanosecond if the opportunity was there. But we just don't know, and everybody wants to stay safe, both the musicians, and we want the audience to be safe. Robert, did you play on Parton Ronstadt and Harris Trio? Yeah, I worked with them. Because I've known all of them. I've worked on some Emmy Lou stuff. I did a lot with Linda, and I did a lot with Dolly. So when you see them all together, it just was magic on there. And there's a really great video from The Tonight Show where we did that with them and backed them up. And it was so great. They're so good. Blair, tell us about Lorna Wright's Circle of Love. I'd have to go back and check it out. It's been a long time. I would have to dig that one up. I will, and I'll check that one out. I'm going to mark it down when we're done here. California Highway 299 east out of Redding, great land, 60 miles from where I grew up. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love Northern California. It's magical country up there. Oh, yeah. Jan Wenner is on the board of the Hall of Fame. That means it's all political and money-driven. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to those things, it's kind of like the Grammys here. I know in Nashville, they actually honor musicians. They do have awards for, like, best. Dan Dugmore's done really great down there. But when I look at the Grammys here, I mean, nobody ever talks about the musicians who worked on the records. There's no, acknowledgement of the studio musicians, and I'm just happy to work. I don't want to get caught up in that nonsense with all that stuff. Your body of work is your award, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't need a little kind of recognition for that. So let's see, what was your movie, Catherine? What was your movie to play on? Well, I've worked on a lot of movies over the years. There wasn't any one specific. If you go to All Music or any of those music websites and Google me up. They'll have a list of all these things, but I've never really don't really keep track of them. Let's see. I'm just how was it working with Barbie Benton back in the sexy 70s, and what was the record like? It was real sweet. It was back when she was dating Hugh Hefner, and she was just so sweet. She showed up at the studio. I believe we cut that at A&M at that time, and she showed up with a big box of homemade chocolate chip cookies for everybody and stuff. And it was really sweet. And the record was just, it was just, whatever was going on in the 70s, pop ballads and things like that. But she was really delightful, a real sweet girl. Baz, what's next with Judith Owen? I started following her for FFS. Yeah, we know what that is. YouTube's. But when it's Judith Pedro and you, it's really special. Yeah, Judith, she's at her home right now in New Orleans. And when she gets back to town, we're going to get back in the house here and do some more music. But she's always got several projects going on. But she's working on a project now that is absolutely astounding, and it's going to be she intends it to be a musical about the women in Picasso's life. And she's writing some absolutely stunning material. And I'm so proud of her. She's a force to be reckoned with. Though. One thing I was thinking about earlier today, I was saying I was going to tell everybody this. I own a lot of blue, black, and gray T-shirts. So don't feel like, does this guy own anything else? It was always just easier for me just to have this crap. I'd go to the Gap when they would have a sale on, I like V-necks. And, and I would just buy a ton of them. And then like I go on the road and I would open up my suitcase and you couldn't even find anything because it was just a sea of black, black jeans and black T-shirts and black socks and all that. So, Ian, the fires in California they're still not out. It's going to be a while because those things, they burn like a peat bog. They just, once they get into the ground, they keep burning. So, but it's not as horrible as it was a while back. But there's been so much loss, so much devastation in terms of property, lives, wildlife especially. It's unbelievable. So it's going to be rough. And they said we're not going to be doing. It's not going to be or it's going to be an El Nino year and not La Nina, or however that works, but they don't think it'll be a rainy season, which is sad, but it's also, there's been so much burn that there would be massive mudslides. I don't know what's going to be happening with that. Have you heard the JT audio book, Break Shot, yet? It's very good. No, I haven't heard that yet. I'll have to check that and see what's going on with that. May I request Andrew Gold channel post sometime? Yeah, I mean, I love working with Andrew. I'll dig. The thing is, as I keep going through songs and stuff, I mean, literally, somebody estimated that I've worked on somewhere around 25,000 songs during the course of my career. So I keep finding stuff, and I've really been trying to find stuff that that with like one run through beforehand I can wrap my head around, because there's a lot of stuff I worked on that was massive charts. I mean, we worked on the movie Lipstick with Michel Polnareff, and I remember my chart was 9 pages long on it. To wrap my head around that kind of stuff would really take some serious work. So I may get to some of that down the pike, but there's so many different things I'm finding fascinating. Just kind of revisiting and rediscovering, like the Roger Voudouris the other day. I had completely forgotten about that, and somebody mentioned it, and I went back and went, oh, this is a fun tune, man. This is really great. So I'm going to keep looking around. Let's see, David. Yeah, Merle Haggard always came across having such a sense of humor and vibrancy. Just seeing his interview and his work with Willie. Was he as lovely in person and he came across in his music? I love Merle. The funny thing was, like, when I first started working with him, I just kind of said, this is really a drag, kind of Okie from Muskogee turned a lot of people like myself and stuff going kind of, oh, this guy's an old redneck and stuff. And he was, the last thing he was an old redneck. And we became like really close friends. And let's see, there's things are going by. I have a great Merle story. that I may miss some things here because I'm going to tell the story real quick. I had done a lot of work with Merle, and I was doing an album with him down in Nashville, and um, he was the first day he wasn't singing well, and I was really shocked by it because he normally had one of the best voices in country. And the second day I came to the studio, and he had already been there like 2 hours and had replaced all his vocals from the previous day. And I said, Merle, yesterday kind of sucked. Today you sound fantastic. What happened? And he looked at me and he goes, my singing teeth arrived. And apparently he had worn dentures that weren't fitting properly, and he couldn't enunciate, so they had FedExed his proper teeth in, and he was singing great. What a character, man. He was fantastic, though. Would you have loved the store that used to be in Sunland? 5 plain t-shirts, your choice, $10. I'd have been there so fast, man. That's my kind of store. I'm not a clothes horse. In the formative years of your bass playing, was there an aha moment when you knew that you could play music to pay the bills? Or it really kind of happened with James Taylor. Before that, I was playing, making like $10 a night in clubs and things like that. But when James happened, it kind of just took off, and all of a sudden I had a real paycheck, and I never looked back. So you just don't know when these things happen. But that was, that was really a kind of a pivotal moment in my life. Do you have any memories of recording sessions on Rick Roberts' Jenny's Blues? Yeah, that was so long ago, too. I need to Google up Rick again and start looking at some of that stuff, because there's so many interesting artists. I worked with a girl named Jane Getz who was called Mother Hen, and we had an interesting project together, too, and I need to go back and dig some of that up and see. Did your piano background influence your bass playing style at all? David, I'm not sure if it influenced it, but it gave me the great thing about my piano experience early was it gave me reading, because I studied classical, so that when I started actually working in the studio, I was already a solid reader. It wasn't something that I had to suddenly get under my belt. But I'm not sure how much it affected the way I approached bass. It probably did, because I was so used to the melodic side of classical music that it probably planted seeds that I'm still using to this day. Wow, there's some pretty interesting things here. It's going to bring up somebody like Roger. YouTube gives him old clips of him. Yeah, cool after the fact, get a bit of... Yeah, it's really remarkable when you start finding all these people, and there's so many. There was a girl named Shy Coltrane that I worked with. Suddenly her name just came to me. I'll have to go back and check out what we did with Shy. Will your wife ever make an appearance on your channel? It's up to her. She's in the other room with the puppies, watching TV right now. I'm not sure. She's always welcome in here, but this, I'm not going to drag her in. She would probably say, I haven't got any makeup, my hair's not done, so I'm not going to push it for her. Let's see. Have you heard of the Flying Machine before you met those guys? Danny Korchmar and James Taylor's group back in New York. No, because that was in the late 60s with those guys, and I didn't meet those guys until 1970, so I wasn't aware of the Flying Machine at all. I sat forward on my couch to type a question in my 2-dash, and I just decided it's the only place on the couch to sit was behind. Yeah, I love the dogs, Sean, man. Oh, I'm glad, Sean. Oh, and Sean, congratulations. It was you that they had a baby in the family. That's fantastic. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the dogs are always they're just fun. 2 different Flying Machine bands. Rosemarie wasn't JT's. I didn't realize that there was 2 different Flying Machines. No, I'm not familiar with it. Now I'm literally on the edge of my seat for the rest of the session. That's good, though. Nothing like reaching behind you and feeling a little puppy. My guys, sometimes they get behind me and then they decide and they stand on my shoulders, and there's, sniffing my head, my ears and stuff. It's like, there are a couple of... We've started calling Marcello Tubby, even though he's not fat, but he's a husky boy, where Rossano is a little leaner, kind of like Laurel and Hardy in a way. I cheered you on in rain at the Vancouver Island Festival. Werewolves was Yeah, that was so much fun. That Vancouver Island Festival was so much fun. I loved it, and we wanted to go back, and then they had to postpone it this year until move it um, to May. And I don't think it's going to happen next year. Maybe the year after. Um, it's hard. How did the Greasy Spoons get their name? I'm not familiar with Greasy Spoons. Tell me about it. How much do the boys weigh? We just had Marcello weigh, and I think he's 65 pounds. So Rossano's probably about 56 somewhere. And it's kind of like Chumley and Peabody. They were about, at the height of his powers, Chumley, our Bassett's that passed last year, he was about 93 pounds. He was a big boy. And Peabody was about 10 pounds less than him. And they were brothers also. So, yeah. Which of the pups had to go to the vet? Well, it was Marcello who went because he's had this ear infection, this bacterial thing. But they gave him a clean bill of health. They said he's great. His ears were totally clean, so that's great. Yeah, Sean. Yeah, congratulations. Your first granddaughter was born this morning. Mom and baby are fine. Dad is freaked out. Thanks for. Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, when you wrote and said you didn't know if you were going to be able to make the hang today because there was a baby on the way, and then you wrote and you said, "Oh, it's she had the baby." So that's great. Congratulations to the whole family. That's pretty cool. Was Eric Clapton a good hang on I Wish It Would Rain video? Yeah, it's funny. They wanted to have the dancers play, so to dance, they needed something, so we ended up doing Sunshine of Your Love for them and this really cheesy thing. And I looked at Eric afterwards and I said, do you know how much I've wanted to play that song with you? And here we do this completely crap version of it. We were both laughing. And then he signed, and I had Frankenstein there, and he signed Frankenstein. He wrote highly EC on it, and he carved it in with a pencil with a pen, so it's actually in the wood. He's a great cat. I love being around him. I would love to have had a chance to really actually play with him, but that's never happened. But you never know. You never know. But we'll see. Let's see. I love Bad Luck Streak in Dancing School. Yeah. Warren was just a remarkable character. Warren Zevon. As a writer, as a musician, as a singer, just unique. Harvey Mandel, God, I haven't thought about Harvey in a long time. Yeah, Canned Heat was great. One of the great concerts I saw back in the 80s was at a place called the Hullabaloo in Hollywood. And it was Sly and the Family. It was the original Sons of Champlin opening, followed by Sly and the Family Stone, followed by Canned Heat. And man, it was great. Jesus, seeing all those bands play was great. I get the part of Frankenstein's body having Eve sound, or the pickups so simple that they last a really long time. The pickups on Frankenstein are EMGs, and they were Rob's very first generation of EMGs. And he stopped making those because they ate batteries like there's no tomorrow. I mean, if I'm doing a project in the studio and I'm using that for a week, I have to change 2 9-volts, or they're kind of drained by the end of the week. It was just a weird thing about them, but they are the best sounding pickups. I just absolutely love them. What's this? You are listed with Susie Boggess and the Greasy Spoons. Well, that's something Susie must be doing, but that wasn't, when I was working with Susie in the studio, that name never came up. So that might be something that she's kind of created at this point. It's a great name, Greasy Spoons. Yeah, Susie was delightful to work with. I loved working with her. She was really a trip. That was a great period for me in Nashville, working with her and Patty Loveless and all these, Lionel Cartwright and Winona. I loved going down there and working. Did a lot with Reba and Barbara Mandrell and all of these. Yeah, it was great. Of all the, let's see, all the people you've put us on to, Lee, Simon Phillips has blown my mind. What a drum. Yeah, no kidding. Simon Phillips is an unbelievable musician. He's got so many cool projects that he was always working on, but it was really a treat to be on tour with him and playing with him with Toto every night. He took my breath away. David, yeah, how was it working with Christofferson? He seems like such an interesting guy. Yeah. I loved working with Chris. And a lot of the work we did was when he was with Rita Coolidge, so it was the Chris and Rita projects. And he was great, but it was really great. So many times he would play 12-string acoustic guitar because he played so hard that by the time the song was over, you'd be lucky if there was still 6 strings on the guitar. He wore them out. Yeah, it was amazing. But Chris is great, and the last time I saw Chris, we did the Grammy show, and it was Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard and Christofferson did the show as kind of the highwayman, and they had Blake Shelton was there instead of Johnny Cash. And I rarely ever speak ill of anybody, but Blake Shelton was a real pant load. He's sitting there with these 3 giants of the industry, and he was acting like the world revolved around him. It was really sad. We were all kind of going, what a schmuck, you know. But it was great to be with the Cats, and I love those guys. There's Monty. I wouldn't work with Nathan East because Nathan's a bass player and I'm a bass player, so we wouldn't work on a project. I mean, there's some projects where we've both been bass players on it, but certainly not together. That rarely. It's only happened, I think, once or twice in my whole career where I worked with another bass player on a specific song. I think I did one thing that was with me and John Entwistle together, and I did one thing with myself and Victor Krause playing upright on it. So we had very different parts on the song. Have you seen the movie Buster with Phil Collins? Yeah, no, man, Phil is a good actor. He was a child actor, and if you've never seen it, check out the movie Buster about the great train robbery. And Phil is really good in it. The camera loves that guy. He's excellent. You know, Rick, I never had a chance to play with Stevie Wonder. I've been around Stevie a bunch of times and stuff, but we've never had the opportunity. I certainly would love to. But man, when Nathan Watts plays with him, who cares? I just want to hear Nathan play, Watts play with Stevie. That's the thing. Lionel Cartwright, yeah, watch out. Yeah, Lionel was great. There were so many of them there. What should I do with a 1960 Echo bass? Is there a market for a Hofner wannabe? I had one. I had an Echo bass, and I loved it. And I was doing a gig with it, and the strap broke, and the bass fell down. And on those, the jack cord goes into the side of the bass, and it punched the jack cord right through. So it was stuck inside the bass. But the Echo was my wannabe Hofner, too. And I'm sure there's a market for it. That's a real cool vintage instrument. So I'm sure there would be somebody out there that would like to have that. EMG pickups are actually great. I discovered them in the 90s and I'm a big fan. But the thing is, there's so many good pickup companies out there, and I'm not going to tear a bass apart to try new pickups if I already like the way it sounds. I don't want to screw with them. So I kind of just I just leave things alone. I really don't. I don't hunt out new stuff that much. Do you have a preferred choice 9-volt for Frankenstein's EMGs? No, but I keep a voltmeter with me, and I really love to start out at around 9.5 with fresh batteries, and I can kind of tell a difference sonically when they get down to about 8.6. So I usually change them then. I'll hold on to some of like the mid 9 volts and save those for like a pedal or something that I might want to just throw them in for a minute. My first concert was Canned Heat with John Lee Hooker as an opener. Wow, that's great. John opened the eyes and ears of this Wisconsin farm boy. Yeah, no longer farm. Love the blues. Yeah, John Lee. It was great. Yeah, I went through a whole period working with all those people, Jimmy Reed and Leighton Hopkins, Magic Sam, Albert Collins. In mid-late 60s, I worked with all those people doing Chitlin Circuit, Big Mama Thornton, Pee Wee Creighton, and yeah. Catherine, did you play with David Bowie? Yeah, I worked with Bowie on Cat People. And I've got a video earlier on in my YouTube things from that and talk about Bowie at that point. What did you do with Entwistle? I have never heard it done, but we were doing, it was an album for, oh God, what's his name? He was the singer, he was the lead singer in the Hollies. God, I usually know his name. I'm blanking on it now. But they brought John and I in. And the fun part of that was John tried to play Frankenstein, and I tried to play his bass, and neither of us could play the others. It's like it was impossible because his action was so low, and I keep high action, so we just looked at each other and laughed. But John was a great guy. I really loved him. How was Thomas Dolby to work with? Yeah, Thomas is a really dear friend of mine, and it was really fun to be in the studio with him. I was always a fan. I mean, just if all he ever did was blinded me with science, it would be fine. But he's really, he always talks down his playing. He always thinks of himself more as like a programmer and all that. But what he's done musically is really great, and he really set a really good high watermark for the kind of music he does. There's not many that do it better than him. Your bassets are high weight. I'm an expert at it. I can see it's all muscle, really great. Yeah, they're really healthy. I mean, the vet said absolutely there's no, they're not fat dogs or anything. They're big framed. But the old boys, Chumley and Mr. Peabody, they were really big, and not an ounce of fat on them, but man, they were big boys. KPPC radio in Pasadena. Memory the first time you heard a song you played on over the airwaves. Yeah, I love KPVC. I listen to it all the time. That's kind of one of my go-to channels in my truck. That's cool, Grant. It was probably something of James Taylor, but I it's hard to remember because it was so long ago. But I'm sure I was like, kind of going, what? I'm on the radio. It's interesting, just all that thing. But I've never really kind of dwelled in that area. I'm just really thrilled to be, working and being involved in music. So every once in a while, and it's fun when you get an elevator and you hear it and all, and you kind of go, "Wow, this is great." What early life lesson did you have that helped you out the most? I think my folks really, they really kind of gave me a work ethic. Like when I was a little kid, man, I was like, my allowance was, I had to earn it. I was doing all the yard work and things like that, which gave me a love of doing yard work. And I think one of the early life lessons for me probably was that I was at an early age, I mean, like in my late teens, I was around some people that really were having a terrible time with drugs and alcohol. So I never got involved, never smoked, never drank, never did drugs. And I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, good boy." It just didn't appeal to me because I saw people on bad acid trips, all kinds of things like that. I had friends dying of meth overdoses and things. So I think for me, never getting involved in any of that really allowed me to keep more of a focus and a clarity on my direction. Are Judith and Harry safe? And yeah, I'm pretty sure they're doing okay down there. Gene, try 9-volt lithium batteries. They last long. Yeah, I end up just getting like big boxes of batteries. I'll check out some lithiums. I never wanted to use. Alan Clark. That's it. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, it was Alan Clark's album. I think that John and I worked on. Yeah, I'll dink around with some battery stuff too and see what's going on. I remember you telling a story about trying each other's basses. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, it was just really kind of a funny thing just to pick up somebody else's instrument and just go, "This is unplayable," and we both looked at each other and laughed. It was really great. Yeah, I love New York Minute by Immediate Family. What a great song. Yeah, Cooch. Cooch is a great songwriter. I mean, Dirty Laundry and All She Wants to Do Is Dance and Machine Gun Kelly. Cooch is a wonderful songwriter, and he's still also one of the best rhythm guitar players I've ever worked with. His pocket is so deep. Let's see, I really enjoyed your introduction to performers not well known. Got a new shopping list. Great. Yeah, I'm going to keep going because there's a bunch of the people like that never quite got, things just never quite moved to that next level. And they made great music. So let's see, when you were starting out switching from piano to bass, did you turn to study books or did you play along with basses? I started listening to basses, but when I started on upright, I started with the Simandl books, which are were pretty much the Bible of string bass, and I still have those books. So it's it's good. I mean, I studied with teachers and studied classical. I not playing upright anymore. I mean, I've been away from it for too long. I have one, and I can play around for my own pleasure. But I miss bowing. I miss that part of it. But I stayed so busy playing electric that I just never kept that up. And it's not riding a bike. It's not doing that. Have you ever been starstruck? And if so, with whom? Ricky Bobby. Not so much starstruck, but there have been those moments. I talked about it earlier on. I did 2 albums with Andy Griffith. And when I walked in the studio, and there's Andy Griffith sitting there, man, my whole life passed before my eyes, and it kind of, blew my mind. Because I've been around so many of the people for so long that, I really appreciate artistry and talent. But not that often starstruck. But there are certain iconic people, like when I was talking about getting that other bass signed, when Milton Berle signed it, and Bob Hope, when I was sitting there with Bob Hope, and Mel Torme and Donald O'Connor. Kind of those things kind of made me take a step back. When I worked with Andy Williams, I was such a beautiful singer. It's those kind of people that really kind of got me. I was thinking about digging up some other earlier stuff. Like I worked with Johnny Mathis and Denise Williams, and I'm thinking about looking back and see what's going on. Sean, any news on the hot rod? I haven't heard you talk about. Actually, the hot rod's still sitting over in my mechanic's garage. He's been playing around with it and having fun. So he just said, "Do you mind leaving it here longer?" And I've been busy, and it's been kind of hot and stuff. So I just say, yeah, no, go ahead and enjoy it. It's fine. I'll get it back. And when I get it back, I'll do a video maybe out driving in it, and we can video people's faces when they're freaking out, going, "What the hell is that thing?" So it'll be back, but it's doing fine. It's running good and everything. So it's just he lives about 5 miles from me, and he had room in his garage, and I called him and I said, "Look, I cleared out my garage. I'm ready to get the car back." And he goes, "Oh, would you mind leaving it a little longer with me?" I said, "Sure." It's fine with me. I think you did an album with great Glenn Campbell. Do you recall the session? It was like, I love Glenn Campbell, man. I mean, what a beautiful musician. What a fun cat. I think we did that at Wally Heider's studios, which are no longer around. I think we did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did that at Heider's. And Glenn was one of those guys because he was part of the Wrecking Crew, and he was one of the few guys from that went on to really have another career beyond that. But he was still tight with all the guys and gals. I mean, and it was he was amazing. It broke my heart when he started fading, and it was a big loss. But I love Glenn. When I worked with Glenn, it was about the same time I was working with Mac Davis and guys like that. There was a whole bunch of that going on with those kind of artists. It was really cool. And when you get a call to work with musicians, artists that you haven't worked for before, do you devote a little time to get to know each other before getting work? Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've always thought about in my career is I'm going to go in and I'm going to play bass, but there's a part of me that really likes to also go in and sort of be a cheerleader. Because some guys really don't bring any personality to the dates or anything. And to me, one of the things is, man, just keep things rolling, keep things, like Kenny Aronoff's like that. Kenny comes in, blows in the door, man, and it's just like, everything's, goes crazy because he's such a character. And I love working with characters. So when you meet an artist, the first thing I want to do is kind of hang with them, get a feel for them, and sort of see what they're all about. Because every time I go to work, I approach it like I'm joining another band for that day, and I want to be a part of it. So if you don't really know each other, it's kind of hard to know what their desires are. And I always tell them immediately, I said, if there's anything you hear that you want me to try or anything you want me to change, don't hesitate to ask, because some people say, "Oh God, I'm sort of intimidated by your discography and all that." I go, that's got nothing to do with today. I mean, if you've got any ideas, shoot them out at me. I'm happy to try anything you want. And I'll give you what I got, and we'll make it happen. So it's it's the way I've always approached it. So many British bands having a huge impact on you. How did you feel visiting the UK for the first time? Was it? Oh God, the first time we went to the UK was in 1970, and I was in heaven. I mean, it was just like what I expected. And we gigged in London. We did stuff for the BBC. We took a bus and went up, played in Scotland. So we were up in like Penrith. We went up through the Lakes region and stuff. It was great. I loved it. I do. I do love every chance I got, and it was one of the beautiful things of working with Phil Collins. Was we spent a great deal of time in the UK and with rehearsals and everything. So it was almost like a second home on certain levels. Let's see, Chris, good for you. Booze doesn't bring anything good with it. I quit drinking 12 years ago. Good for you, Christopher. That's great. Helen, LMS bass, Marcello. I'm not sure what is LMS. I'll wait and see what you put up there. For Gardner, do you attend the Rose Parade? No, I don't. I've been to the Rose Parade twice, and it's fabulous. It's not happening this year. They've had to cancel it, but it's. I've gone down and watched them. They build the floats fairly close. They've moved some of them out of here, but for a long time they built a lot of the floats right near my house, and I would go down and watch them working on them. And it was really fun. The fragrance, you walk into these big buildings and stuff, and just the waft of fresh flowers is like mind-blowing. TCM recently played a good version of the Tammy Show. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I mean the Tammy Show, TAMI. If you ever want to check out anything amazing, pull up videos of the Tammy Show, TAMI. It's all these different artists. It had everybody from the Rolling Stones, Leslie Gore, but James Brown's performance in it is staggering. It's just unbelievable. What are your thoughts on the future of bass playing? Many producers using bass plug-in instead of a bass player, and many of the bass players only got chops and no sense of what's best. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough time. I went through a thing a while back where I was looking, I'm always looking at videos, and I see really serious chops monsters up there that humble me. I mean, they've got facility that I find so staggering what they can bring out of that instrument. But so many times they're not really saying anything. A lot of them are just slapping, and generally they're sitting on an E or something and showing you all this tapping and chops. And sometimes I'll write to like Berkeley or some of these other bass sites, and I'll go, does anybody ever think about posting a song about how to create a bass part for a song that has chord changes in it? I'm very optimistic. I try to be optimistic about the future, because if you're not optimistic about it, then why are we even here? If you don't think things can be better and improve. There's a lot of things I miss in my life that are gone, but there's other things that I look forward to. But every once in a while I'll see some bass player and I go, they've got it. And it's that way with any instrument or anything in the arts. Some people just go. Okay. Oh, LMS bass is on the chat, Aaron. Okay. Oh, okay. Some of this I see it going by so fast on the scrolls, and I'm trying to read things that I'm not sure, what I'm seeing as I'm responding sometimes. But yeah, I have great optimism. I mean, there's some beautiful musicians out there, and I'm sure there's people right now that are sitting home practicing that when they suddenly come out, you're just going to go, wow, that's really great. Thanks, Helen. It's great. I work with John Hyatt through Lyle Lovett. He's a terrific songwriter and a really quirky, wonderful character. I love all those kind of guys. And like we had Leo Kottke opening for Lyle on some gigs, and he was great. And I remember working with Sandy Bowl back in the 60s. There's so many of those wonderful musicians, these guitar players that have that beautiful technique. Bill Thompson, thought I saw you slapping on an early. Now, I mean, if I have to throw a little bit in, I'm really crap at slapping. I've had a bunch of wrist things, so this kind of thing for me is not comfortable. So I've never really dedicated myself to that technique. I'm in awe of the guys that are really, really good at it, and I know guys in town that are absolutely amazing at it. So if somebody calls me for a session and they say, "Oh, we really want to hear you do some slapping," I go, "Let me call this other guy. You'll be much happier with them. They'll do an amazing job for you, and I can stay home and work in the yard, and I'll be much less embarrassed." So that's where that goes. Did you know Graham Parsons? Yeah, I knew Graham, and it was another tragedy in this business of losing him so young. Mono Neons. Great. It's like, who knows who this cat is? Just like I'm completely covered. But he plays great. He plays really great. Let's see. Have you ever watched Adam Neely's YouTube? Somebody recommended that a while back. I'll check it out today after we're all done and see. I have not. Let's see. Would Wolfgang be the closest? Would be the closest to anything that you considered stoner rock like? Not really. I don't think Wolfgang would have fit into that category. It was just a good hard rock and roll band. How long did you know Michael Brecker? Yeah, Michael was just a treasure, and we stayed close all the way up to the very end for him. But one of the first gigs we played with James Taylor was Carnegie Hall, and the Brecker brothers, Randy and Michael and Barry Rogers on trombone, were the horn section for that gig. And then we spent a lot of time with Michael, and that's how we got involved with having him come in and play with the section. At NAMM this year, I saw you and Jonas and Jeff Berlin, but Henrik Linder of Dirty Loops was a surprise to see. Have you had a chance to play with or see him play? Well, playing with him hasn't been an opportunity, but man, I think he's a monster. Henrik, he's a real sweet guy, and Dirty Loops is like such a ridiculously great group. I mean, their musicality is absolutely stunning, and watching Henrik play is like it certainly is a master class. He's a beautiful player, and but I've never had a chance to play with him, but I've seen him play, and dude's got it. He's really great. Which media do you prefer to listen to, vinyl, tape, or CD? I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I would always prefer vinyl. There's just if you've got a good system, you've got a good power amp and good speakers and a good turntable, that's heaven to me. But you get what you can get. A lot of things aren't available. Watch Adam's breakdown from Girl from Ipanema first. Okay, will do. I've got homework now. Thank you. Christopher, yeah, I'm bad at slapping too. There was a week over 20 years ago that I thought I was Louis Johnson. Yeah, Louis. Now that's some slapping. My thumb has not recovered yet. Yeah, I mean, it's just another technique that's really, it can be really put to great use. In the same way, like I've seen a few people go by and asking me about playing a fretless on some of my videos. I've used fretless pretty sparingly in my career. I've got one song I was going to do that I have a fretless 5-string Washburn that I used on a Willie Nelson thing that I've been thinking about doing. I'll use it on that. But to me, for the most part, fretless has such a profound personality to it that it can actually, for me, be a distraction on a track because it's drawing attention to the growl and stuff, where I use it sparingly. If I feel a song really wants it, I always would have one with me, but I'm kind of gingerly with them. And I was a huge fan of Pino's fretless work stuff he did with Paul Young and stuff and all that. It's like, dude, he's one of my favorite bass players. Pino's absolutely a remarkable musician. I see you worked with Cher in '89 on Heart of Stone. Great album. What is Cher? Cher was great. Cher's really a sweetheart. I remember seeing Sonny and Cher when they were actually called Caesar and Cleo at a place called the Red Velvet Supper Club in Hollywood back in the mid '60s. I'll have to go back and check out Heart of Stone. Maybe I'll do something from that. I've been trying to get some classic rock reactors to do a couple of songs from Barefoot Servants. Barefoot Servants to me is still one of my most enjoyable projects. I love those guys, and that was such great stuff to do. I so wish that would have happened. Yeah, DW taking over LP. That was amazing. Yeah, they're an amazing company. And Don Lombardi's really a fabulous guy. Just the fact that we go back to '63 blows my mind. Still reading here. Have you ever seen Geddy Lee's strumming techniques? Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a wonderful musician, and there's a lot of that in the same way that. Hold on one sec. Drawing my blank here. Oh God, I hate when the brain just decides to take a 10 on me. I'll get back to it. Sorry, but yeah, Getty's great. Um, um, what has your involvement with The Simpsons been, Tracy Ullman? Yeah, when we used to do the music for the Tracy Ullman show, that was where the Simpsons originated as a little snippet on that show. So we did anything that was with the Simpsons on Tracy Ullman, we did. After that, I never did anything with them after that. But when I started working with Harry, we laughed about it because he had been there since the beginning. We said we've actually been together a lot longer than we thought we had because we went back to the beginning of the Simpsons. Baz signing off. Oh, yeah, the witching hour. Yeah, thanks for hanging in, and I'm so sorry still about the beginning of this whole thing being like 15 minutes behind because Aaron just had his times wrong. I mean, stuff happens, but I was sitting here freaking out, sending him messages because generally we'll get together 30 minutes beforehand and make sure everything's working properly. And if I see a bunch of people on the chat even before 3, I'll jump in there and talk. And sorry about having to change the day. I'm going to have to be slightly flexible on these because when things come in, you just don't know what your schedules will be. But I'm going to try to maintain a 2-week interval as best I can. Yeah, check out. Thank you, Walter. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to remember Abe as the strummer, and then you put it up. Thank you. Yeah, I mean his style. And there's another guy who's Carl's Benevent, who played with Paco de Luca, is unbelievable. I hung out with him and did a master class with him in Spain. And Carl's Carles Carles Benevent, monstrous bass player. I mean, just his technique is unbelievable. Grant. Yeah, I've seen Nandi Bushell. Yeah, there's some of these like 8 and 10-year-olds and stuff where you kind of sit there and you want to just take your stuff out and throw it in a wood chipper. You just go, wow, this is so insane. It's unbelievable. Was there any gig that you would consider to be the hardest gig you ever had to play? Gene, I talked about this once before, I think. It wasn't a gig I played. It was a gig that I had to do, that I was hired to do. And when Linda Ronstadt did The Pirates of Penzance on Broadway, then they decided to make a movie about it. When they recorded the pit orchestra, and by that time in the run of the play, the pit orchestra had gotten pretty lax, and they realized it was unusable for the movie, so they decided to replace the instruments on it. And the first person they had come in was me to replace the bass parts on it. Well, needless to say, it's Gilbert and Sullivan, which is incredibly complicated music to play in terms of tempos and moves. And even having the conductor sitting in the studio, Peter Asher was producing it and Val Garay was engineering it, and the conductor was there, and they didn't videotape the conductor. So he said, I don't know what to tell you. And I was sitting there. I finally had Linda's vocal turned up so loud that I could hear her do an inhaled breath to kind of guess where downbeats would be. It was one of the hardest things I've ever been through. And finally, we had one section where we were trying to get like 4 bars, and I'd been working on it for like 10 minutes, and it just was not like. And I finally just hauled off and slugged the music stand, knocked all the music, because there was probably 60 pages of music for this thing. Den caved in the music stand and everything, and then everybody jumped out of their seats, and I said, okay, just give me a few minutes, and then we got another music stand and went back to work and finally got it. But that was one of the hardest things I remember. As we get down to the final week or 10 days before the election, will you do YouTube vids with the resist base? Sure. I mean, why not? Why not? I've just been I'm trying to keep, YouTube as open as I possibly can, because I go through every time I cough on Facebook, I get thrown off, and there's too many good things going on musically and stuff that I'm trying to hang in as long as I can before I get thrown off again. Let's see, watching Toto from the beginning and seeing the progression of bass players from Hungate to Picaro to you to Nathan, now Shem. The group's sound changes. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, it's always going to change in the same way that it changed from Jeff Picaro, to Simon Phillips to Shannon on drums. The music, I mean, great songs really can stand that variety of players. And some people come in and say, I like him the best. I like when he was with the group. I like when he was with the group, and that's all valid. I mean, it's like I always say. The arts are subjective. You go to an art gallery, and 2 people standing in front of a painting. One person says it's the most moving thing they've ever seen, and the other person says I want to puke. I hate it. It's ugly. So you don't know. So I mean, everybody brought their own thing. Like when I joined up with Toto. In the very beginning, I was really trying to honor Mike's parts because I didn't want it to be too different for the other guys in the band. So I did that, and by a month into the tour, I was then injecting my concept of how the parts were there. It was just some feel things. So we'll see. But for everybody, you just find what you like in something. And all of the guys were great. I mean, Hungate's a great bass player, and Mike was a great bass player, and Nate's a great bass player, and the stuff I've seen on YouTube with Shem is a great bass player. So it's all good. It's all good. Did you find going on intervals to repeat our courses? Let's see. Do you find that going up the intervals on a repeat out course is a great way to build more energy and give a new layer of lift feelings to a song instead of staying in the roots, etc.? Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that for me, I really just, I don't do things consciously. I just kind of respond emotionally when I'm playing. And if something feels like it wants to change, what I hate is if I'm like somebody calls me to their house to like put bass on some stuff, and I play the first chorus on a song, and they go, "That's perfect. We'll just cut and paste it and put it in the next chorus." I go, "No, that's not how it works." I said the next chorus has to do something. It has to move. It has to, move on and motivate the song forward. And then I tell them, "Look, let me do it the way I want to do it." And then at the end, when I leave, if you want to cut and paste it, it's yours. You do whatever you want, but I want to at least feel like I've done my job the way I feel my job should be done. And but sometimes staying right where you are can work perfectly. But you're responding at that moment to that feeling. And if it wants to sit there, I don't fight it. But if it really wants to go someplace else or try different intervals or do different lines leading into it, I love doing that. I don't want it to be static. I want it to have as much emotion for the listener as I try to put into it as a player. As Peter Asher talked about the Peter and Gordon songs from Peter Asher is a veritable, incredible source of stories and information about McCartney and Lennon. Paul lived in his house. He dated his sister. They were really close friends, and they did songs together. So Peter has a kind of a one-man show that he does. And he's got a little rhythm section on it, but he tells stories in their slides and video on it. And I've done it with him a couple of times, and it is one of the most informative things. And he does this song with Gordon, an old Peter and Gordon song, but Gordon's on screen because Gordon's no longer with us. And it's really so sweet to watch Peter and Gordon singing like that. Peter's, man, he's a deep cat. I mean, his contributions to music are really something else. And when the Beatles formed Apple Records, they put him in charge of finding artists. And the first person he brought them was James Taylor, and they signed him as one of their first artists on Apple Records, and that's how he did his first album. So Peter goes way back. David, I love the variety of sounds of Toto over the years with different musicians and singers. Certain tour 2007-8 is probably my favorite, but they're all great. Yeah, it's all great. They've always had such good lineups in those, but yeah, thank you. My band's recording a stream on the 13th of November. Any tips? Just be prepared. Go in there and have fun. There may not be an audience there, but in your mind, you're playing to an audience. So give it your all, because that's what it's all about. So just have fun. Keep us posted on that, Jim, and let us know about that. Maybe we'll all come, check it out, and be your audience, your virtual audience. Christopher, a Swedish author interviewed Facebook on her book about freedom of speech, and she got them to admit that there were certain words they monitor and then they ban based on that. I know if you say white trash, you're immediately blocked. But people were going on there on other things. They were talking about the band White Trash, and immediately got blocked. And it had nothing to do with calling somebody white trash. It was the name of the band. So some of it's just crazy nonsense. Let's see. Blair, I never met Klaus Voormann, but I was sure a fan. I thought he was a wonderful bassist and a wonderful illustrator. And he did some great stuff. I was a big fan. Sean, have you ever heard one of your parts years later and thought you would do it differently now? Absolutely. We change. Some of my early stuff that I've heard, I listen to now and I go, man, it's way too busy. But it was perfect at the time. Now, there was a thing, there's an advisory board on Bass Player magazine. And they have a whole bunch of different players on it. I'm on it. And 1 month, years ago, they did a thing where it was like, ask the experts or some stuff like that. But the question was, if you could go back and change anything you worked on, what would you do? And a whole bunch of guys were writing these long paragraphs about citing all this stuff. And then I looked at and my thing, there was my name, and under it, it said nothing. And it's like when people talk about close of the 80s or something like that. In that time frame, what you were doing was exactly what you were meant to be doing. And I'm not going to judge what I did in like 1976 by 2020 standards, because whatever I was thinking of at that moment was the right thing for that moment. I mean, I can listen to things and say, even with some of the YouTube stuff that I'm doing, I'm not playing it exactly the way I did them on the original thing. Some of these things are from 30, 40 years ago. and I'm just trying to get the essence of it. And sometimes I'm throwing in other things that seem like maybe if I was cutting that song now, here's how I would do it. I'm trying to keep the guts of it intact, but I'm not trying to honor like everything that I did then. I'm not it's not karaoke, but um, LMS bass. What are your thoughts on the resurgence of vinyl? I think it's fabulous. I mean, when I went out with Judith Owen, we sold more vinyl than CDs. Phil, I think they were selling a lot of vinyl. I think it's wonderful. It's nice to see turntables making a resurgence for something other than scratching. If you have a nice system, it's great. It's great. I mean, and the thing I love with vinyl that I miss with records is I loved just the physical act of handling a record, of cleaning it, setting it on the platter, making sure the needle's clean and all that, and setting that tone arm down or pulling the lever that dropped the tone arm, and then sitting and reading liner notes, and sometimes there were great inserts inside the records and stuff. It was almost like a Japanese tea ceremony. It was a very emotional thing to play records as compared to listening on your phone, to something with your earbuds and listening on random. I only like 2 songs on this record, so I'm like, it's another thing, but it's great. Let me see. I've got some more. Has your musicianship rubbed off on any of your immediate family? Now, if you're talking about actual family and not the band immediate family, no. And if we're talking about our band, the immediate family, none of my musicianship has rubbed off on those knuckleheads. So, no, I mean we all feed each other so much stuff. It's great. Art. I don't know if Poobah's is still there. I remember. I think the original place it was in became like a weaving place. But I'm not sure if they stayed in business and moved. But I haven't seen them in many years. Thanks, Tom. Nothing was a perfect answer. Yeah, I mean, for me, that felt like exactly what I had to say. I have a ticket for Saturday's concert. Is there also an actual audience, or it's all online? No, nobody's got audiences at this point. The only people in the room are the few crew people that are filming and doing sound and stuff. It's like 8 people in there, but no, there's no. I mean, it's weird. When you see some of these people are doing things where they set up a ton of, monitors, big screens, and then they have a Zoom audience, so it looks kind of like there's an audience in front of them. I mean, everybody's looking. Everybody's kind of looking all the time, just to see, how can we gather up some energy. But to me, once you start playing, it's all there. How do you keep clean when you eat? My beard is getting huge, and I was eating a burrito the other day, and it was all over my beard. But that's called a snack. Don't get rid of it. Just kind of tuck it in. It was in Trading Places when Dan Aykroyd was dressed as the Santa, and he's sitting on the subway, and he pulls out. He's got a salmon that he took, and he's like gnawing on the salmon and shoves it back in his beard again. It's a challenge, but you do what you got to do. Love vinyl. Still have my fabulous Sansui TT that I got in '78. Yeah, great. 300 LPs. Good for you. Yeah, I mean, there's something really fabulous about it. But a great story is Harry Shearer is a total audiophile guy. And down in New Orleans, he got a fabulous turntable. And it was not working properly, apparently. He told me the story sheepishly. But he said he finally called the guy who set up the system and all that to come over. He said, look, this is just not working right and all this. And the guy looked at him and went over and lifted the platter up and turned it over and set it back down. Harry had put the platter on upside down. And then the thing worked perfect. So it was great. How much is the show? That's at 10 or 15 bucks. From what I understood, it was going to be 10 bucks in advance and $15 the day of. So I'm not sure if that's still what's going on. Stage It is where you would have to go to see what that's all about. And it's stagit.com. And the thing that's funny is when the guy, Lowenstein, who runs that, he and his brother, I did their album with Matt Serletic a number of years ago. Jaron and Aaron, I forget now, I'm drawing a blank on that. But when I looked up the thing and I saw his name, I went, oh my God. And I wrote to him, I said, did I do your album? He said, oh yeah, it was great. I loved it. So it's like, yeah, Walter, it's been referred to as the flavor saver many times. Um, Rick, you played with David Anderson, Jimmy Branley, or Bernie. I've worked with Bernie many times. He's the only one of the three that I've worked with, and Bernie's such a great drummer. He's wonderful. I'm being summoned for supper, so I best sign off. David, yeah, you don't want to mess up dinner. So thank you guys for hanging in with me, while we were waiting for all this stuff. Oh, David, tickets are $15 now. Okay, I didn't really know what that was. So anybody, no, it's $15 now and well worth it. Well, we'll find out after you hear it. You might go, you owe me $15. Who knows? We'll see. I need to. Ian, you're heading out for the night. Ian, man, a pleasure. Thank you so much for hanging here. And Paul, you got to go too. Yeah, for a lot of people, it's getting really late. Lee, have you ever made a howling mistake on a live gig? Played first verse, of course, of a song, Half Step Down. One thing was, and I told a story about this a long time ago, the first time we ever played You've Got a Friend with James Taylor. It was Russ Kunkel and James Taylor, and I think it was at a college outside of Boston. And we had just learned the song backstage. And James got up and he said, I'm going to play a new song for you tonight. And we just learned it. And if you hear any wrong notes, it's Lee. And we played the song, and everything I played was wrong. And when the song finished, I looked at James, and he was staring at me. And I said, what song did we play before this, James? Country Road? Drop D tuning? Did you remember to tune your E string back up to a E from a D? And he had forgotten to, so every note he was playing was a whole step off. That was bad, but I remember doing a gig with the section, and I had a bass solo in the middle of it. And when I finished the bass solo, I forgot what song we had started, and I went into another song, and thank God we all knew each other so well, so the other guys just looked at me and when they went right into the other song. But that was the only time that ever really happened. But generally, I'm anal about how I prepare for things, so I'm usually pretty on top of it, so I haven't had too many giant catastrophes take place. Did you sketch a lot of musicians over the years? I would love to have a book of sketches of the musicians you've worked with. I never did, because generally it's like people always say, do you have like pictures and all this stuff? And for the most part, most of the time we were working, and we really didn't have time to like indulge in too many other things. So, I look back in time, and I regret those kind of things that I didn't spend the time doing that. I think one of my biggest regrets, and I've talked about this in interviews, was that from my very first recording session, which was with Brian Hyland and Del Shannon, that I didn't have a camera with me, and just take a picture of Brian and Del, the other guys on the date, the studio, which no longer exists, and all that. And just every session, just snap some pictures and have them. Just, if nothing else, just for a thing to tuck into the memory banks. I missed that part of it, and I wish I would have done that, but I never knew I was going to have a career at that point. You're just happy to be getting a call. You played a black Yamaha TRB 4P on the But Serious tour. What happened to that bass? Do you still have it? No, I ended up not too long ago selling the TRB 4 and the TRB 5. They were really nice instruments, but I just wasn't using them at this point. In the same way, during that tour, my go-to bass rig was PV. And PV just blew everybody else out of the water. Everybody else goes, oh, PV's all this cheap crap. No, absolutely not. I had a whole bunch of like Ampeg and all these companies sending me rigs, wanting me to use them on that tour, and PV sounded the best. But I ended up, moving on to euphonic audio later, years later, and selling all that stuff. Because I think um, stuff needs to be used and played, and just sitting, in a warehouse or in a closet doesn't do it any good. So I'd rather just move things along and let other people enjoy them, and that's what I've done. Let's see what else. What's your PO box address? I just posted it the other day on one of the videos, Ricky. I don't have it in front of me here, so if you want, go back and check about 2 or 3 videos back. It should be on there. I pinned it on that. I have had it such a short time that I don't have it committed to memory, but it's there. Otherwise, I'll try posting it again. Never met Gene Pitney. I always loved Gene Pitney. God, what a great voice. Oh, great. Now I'm singing Runaway. That's great. Yeah, Dell was, man, what a trip. I've been looking for a TI-84 for a while. They're really hard to find. Yeah, they're really good basses. Yeah, if you can find one, grab it. I mean, there's a part of me that always regrets getting rid. There's a part of me that really regrets getting rid of my Steinberger, because I had the first Steinberger. I had serial number 1, but I wasn't using it. I used it, with Phil for a while and had it in the Susudio video, but for the most part, it ended up sitting, and I just thought, time to move it on. So. Let me see. Russ did a great interview of you, and I thought it was going to be a series. But yeah, we did that one, Helen. We did that one, and it just they never picked up on doing any more. So it was sad, because Russ really enjoyed it, and I had a great time with him. Had an absolute pleasure to meet Gene Pitney when he toured New Zealand. Yeah, he was a great guy. Did you ever meet Hartley Peavy? Yeah, I met Hartley. I went and toured the factory down in Alabama, I think they were, and went through the whole factory there. And it was great. It was really, I love that kind of thing. I love going through factories. It's like that was the fun of going out to DW. What's your process to prepare for a gig? Find out what the material is and learn it inside out, and learn everybody's parts. When I'm playing on a tour like with Phil Collins or Lyle Lovett or Toto, I'm not thinking about me in those shows. I'm thinking about everybody else's parts and how I'm fitting in with them. And so that's really kind of where. Oh, good, David. Thank you. He just put up my PO box info there. Let me make sure how that's going. PO box 92316. And what you do is make sure on that. It's 92316. Then there's a space, and the address is 600 Lincoln Avenue. The 6s shouldn't be right together. So it's 92316, 600 Lincoln Avenue, Pasadena, California, and then that's the correct zip code on it. Oh, they're right below it. Philip got it on there too. Great. Blair put it on there. God, you guys know it. I don't even know it. Freddie Cannon, Bobby Rydell. Yeah, all those guys. Yeah. Kevin Albinder. Oh, man. Kevin is one of my favorite people in the whole world. He runs Katz's Deli in New York. He's a fantastic photographer, absolutely fantastic photographer, and an absolutely wonderful musician, too. This guy is a Renaissance man, and every time I'm in New York, I try to hook up with Kevin, and it's good to see you, even if it's late, man. All my best to the family, and all the crazy people at Katz's. It's now my mouth's watering thinking about Katz's, but yeah, Kevin's one of the true originals. I love this guy. Good night from Stockholm. Oh, Peter, good for you. God, I love Stockholm. I love wandering Old Town over there. Yeah. Oh, Mississippi. Yeah. Was it Meridian, Mississippi, I think was Peavy? I think it might have been Meridian. Yeah, these things, boy, it's amazing how much garbage gets stuck in your head and trying to, yeah, now I want corned beef on rye, damn. Yeah, no kidding. Grant, Slippin' and Sliding's brilliant song might be released as a single for radio. Yeah, I'm not sure what all the plans are. Let's see. Your pinky finger seems almost as long as your ring finger. Do you think it gives you an... No, No. And this one's was broken a number of times, so it's a bit crooked. But no, I don't think anything's out of proportion there. My hands aren't that big. I mean, it's sometimes like sitting doing the YouTube videos just because of the angle of the camera, the way this is all backwards, so screws my mind up so much every time. It looks different than it does. Maybe I'll try to do one where I'm sitting way back and playing up here so that it'll look like my head is like a lime, maybe like the end of Beetlejuice when the guy's sitting on the couch and puts a little dust in his head, shrinks down. I've been playing with No Jacket Required lately. Susudia requires some serious stamina and chops. Do you find it hard to play? Well, after, certainly when God, this is really sore. When we're first starting, rehearsals and stuff, you just got to wrap your head around it and build up the stamina. By the time we're gigging, it's second nature at that point. It's not hard at all. But it's not, it's like when you go into a gym, and there's the rack of dumbbells. You don't walk up to the heaviest dumbbell and start lifting on your first day. You start at the other end and work your way up the rack. And with stuff like that, with songs like Susudio, or Stratus, you dig in and you start and you get into a zone with the stuff, and it's good. But you just keep doing it, and it'll get there. It'll get there. It becomes muscle memory. Let's see, your channel reraked my interest in a hell of a lot of stuff. I'm listening to a lot of earlier stuff that you've played on. Cool, man. That's great. I mean, this is what I'm really enjoying about this. Stop talking about that lovely food. It's 1:09 in the morning in the UK. I know, I hate when that stuff happens. Rick, never tried a Chapman stick. I knew Emma Chapman, but I never tried a stick. And I love watching like Tony Levin play it. And there's some great stick players, but never wrap my head around going and doing it. Helen, I just compared to my hand, and yeah, your pinky is way longer in comparison. Now I'm going to be concerned. I'm going to be staring at my hands all the time, going, "What's going on? Am I a freak of nature here?" I mean, there's some guys that have like ridiculous fingers that you just kind of go. The best thing was a bunch of us got inducted into the Rock Walk at the Guitar Center in Hollywood. They had everybody putting their hands in cement there. And Tony Levin came in with his stick fingers, because he did this whole thing where he has these extensions that he can put on his fingers with sticks. And when he plays, he can play with those. And he put those in the cement. I thought, somebody's going to look at this someday and think this dude was an alien, because he's got a couple of fingers there that are like that long. And it's really great. Have you ever played with Stevie Nicks? Yeah, I recorded with Stevie. I never played live with Stevie, but did some recording with her. Rick, yeah, it's the length of the middle finger that counts. Well, that's a good philosophy right in there. Let's see. Well, it looks like everybody's kind of winding down here. We're 5:12, so a couple hours in. Supper time in Nova Scotia. Good God, I'd love to be up in Nova Scotia. It's such beautiful country up there. See you Saturday. Okay, Grant. Oh, absolutely great. Look forward to seeing you, because this coming Saturday is the FaceTime and Skype day hang, and that's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that too. This is Robster. What makes a Hofner bass special? I think McCartney made it special. It's not a really great instrument, as far as I'm concerned. It's a really good-looking instrument. I love the violin and all that. And it's got a nice quality, but I think the fact that Paul made it such an iconic instrument raised the whole level of what a Hofner's all about. But other than that, every once in a while I use mine if it's right for the for the project, and it's sort of like I used it I did it earlier on a video on the B.B. King's 80th birthday, and I took the Hofner and jammed it up full of foam and really deadened it, kind of uprighty sounding, and it was perfect with B.B. King. Gene, let's see. Lee, thanks so much for the time, stories, and behind the scenes information you're giving. It's inspiration. Thanks. I have to sign off, but yeah, it's everybody's in all these different times, and yeah, somebody's 2:13 in the morning in Sweden. Oh God! And my wife is taking my son to school tomorrow. I gotta go. Um, Great. So just again, no, you won't regret. You won't regret the Hofner. You just find a space for it, and it may work perfect for everything. It depends on the kind of music you're playing. On most of the stuff I'm doing, it was not really necessarily the correct instrument. Now, the one thing that was interesting is I read an interview with McCartney, and he had to remember that the lighter you play a Hofner, the better it sounds. If you dig in really hard, they can kind of compress on themselves. But if you have a lighter touch with it, it actually sings a lot better. So enjoy it. Have fun with it. Are you kidding? No yikes. Just Lauren, enjoy it. And one nice thing is it is light. You put that thing on and it's like wearing air. And that's really cool. So didn't mean to dissuade you there. And enjoy it. Let's see, Nova Scotia is one place I'd love to revisit. Hell yeah. Saw an Ampeg Baby bass for the first time in a while. Fantastic rhythm section, Bobby. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I almost, back in the early days, before they were the Ampeg Baby bass, I think there was a company called Zorko that was making that exact same instrument. And I saw them when I was a teenager at Studio City Music. I thought that thing looked fantastic. And it was mostly like salsa bands and like were using those. My female partner thinks this is all a little silly. Why not? I have a Hofner club bass. They have their own sound. Yeah, they're amazing. Anyone but Carol Kay use Velcro to hold up your. That's all great. Okay, well I'll pack it in here. I'm gonna. God, I'm gonna go deal with this. But everybody take care. The people, I have another video up tomorrow on YouTube, and probably play tomorrow. And then I'll see whoever's going to be joining me on Saturday. But I'm going to be here for a long time, so let's just keep hanging. I absolutely adore you all, and I will get the info up on the website very soon, and let you know about the things, the books, and all that stuff. So we have lots of adventures ahead. Even if the pandemic suddenly ended and everything was back to normal, I'd still be here because I'm enjoying this as much as anything else I've ever done. So I have no intention of going anywhere else. So you all take good care, and hopefully next time we'll be able to start on time. I'll double check with Aaron the day before. I thought I had, but maybe we didn't get clear about it, so it's all good. You're all so cool. I love all these questions, and anything that you think of that I missed, just message me on the chats on the next video and say, what were you thinking? Jesus. Tomorrow, Rick, I'll look up Rick Roberts and try to see what's out there. I've got so much to look at here. Okay, everybody, and you're the best. Okay, here I go. I'm hitting stop streaming, and hopefully this ends, and I won't be picking my nose or anything like that. Oh yeah, get cuddles, and yeah, I'm gonna go see the pups now. Yeah, take them for a walk soon.